So, hello. I'm Dennis, and I would like to thank you for joining the first Prodim webinar focused in the marine industry and especially in Canvas. We heard your requests, we listened to your concerns, and we have decided to share our knowledge for this industry and show you how you can have the job done by using the Proliner Canvas Package. You will not get just a glance of how the process is and how a few pictures here and there, but it will go step by step and you will see the complete process from A to Z for a full boat enclosure. The boat enclosure is a perfect example, and you can use the demonstrated process structure for all your canvas and textile works. We're very confident that you will find the webinar very helpful. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask us. If something is not answered during the webinar, then it will be addressed afterwards, or we might even do an additional video or webinar so you can check our website for updates, or even easier, follow our accounts in Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. For the ones here in Europe, grab a cup of coffee. For the ones in Australia and New Zealand, might be already beer o'clock. So relax and enjoy the webinar. As we already mentioned, we'll discuss the whole process from A to Z for the full boat enclosure. There are 4 steps here. Step 1, how you can fix the frame. Step 2 is to measure the frame and the parts needed. Step 3 is to create the design and vision it, how you want it to be. And step 4 is how, from the 3D Proliner measurement, we go to the 2D panels ready for production. We don't want you to change the method you work. We want you to change just the tools that you are using. We want you to skip the nylon and go digital with the Proliner Canvas Package. So let's see how this can be done. Step 1, fix the frame. Determine the correct height of the frame. We can make sure that the frame stays in position while measuring. How to do that with a tensor set, that's going to be very helpful. Instead of using just duct tape or a simple rope, the tensor will help you, and you can mark also the points that you want to measure, and then you can also indicate where the canvas will overhang and how the whole thing will go. And let's see how this can be done in reality. So I fix the frame, the Proliner. That's the mini tripod that can come pretty handy for such cases. That's the first part of the tensor that will help us to fix the frame in the position that we really want, and it won't be moving or won't have any issues afterwards when we want to measure. By clicking and screwing there, you can have it on the exact position, and this is adjustable. We do the same on the other side, of course. And here on the top of the structure, we can adjust it. 2 of them, of course, for extra support. We can measure with the measuring tape if they are in the correct position, or if we need to extend. Even a few millimeters can make the difference and make everything nice. Extra tests and extra measurements that can help us to put the frame on the correct position. And here's how we can start marking the points that are going to be used, because this is where what you actually do now. You mark where your material is going to be touching the frame. And this is also where the simple tape can also come handy, because that helps you to visualize where it stops on the boat structure and where it will start losing actually the touch with the tubes. And this is the mark point there, and one more mark point on the boat frame. And actually, that's it. The tensor set will also keep the frame So step 2, how to measure now the frame and the parts that we want. Ensure, first of all, that the Proliner is stable, is placed in a stable position. You choose wisely what is the correct position. You, as discussed, a mini tripod can come pretty handy in such jobs. And also the motion detection sensor will be useful, so that you can make sure that the Proliner is not sliding or anything like that. You can test that you can reach all the points that you want to have in your drawing. Then you can select the right pen, and the pen settings could be the normal pen, could be the hook pen, could be the IPT. And then we can also work with different layers, different colors, because that will make our life also easier in the editing part afterwards. So let's see how this part goes. Here's where we're going to create the 3D frame, the 3D digital template, sorry. And I start by creating a sketch of how I want my cover to be. This, of course, can be based on your experience and the customer's needs. You already do this even when you measure manually, and it helps you to visualize on what you need and which points are going to be pretty useful to have in your drawing. So this is what I'm looking for. I have the Proliner set there. As you know, there is no need for leveling or calibration or anything like that. I can immediately start measuring. I don't care if it's windy, if it's not windy, if it's sunny, if it's not sunny. It doesn't matter, and it won't affect any of my measurements. I put the Proliner in the position where I believe that I can reach all the points that I want to have in my drawing. I just put the name and the project name and the file name, and I go to my settings. In this case, instead of the normal pointer, the hook pen is gonna come very handy, as it will allow me not only to reach the points that I could get with the normal pointer, but also reach the points that could be behind an obstacle or in the backside of the cube. And that can be very, very useful. And of course, it's part of the package of the Proliner Canvas Package. We start by getting 3 points, because these 3 points are on the bottom of this structure, will help us a lot to align our drawing properly in 3D, in the CAD. Already started getting the points that are needed. Of course, for the straight parts, just a couple of points are enough. For the parts that are more, that there are radius, the more the better. So going all around, and from the point where my material stops touching the frame, I go directly down to the bottom of this structure. And I can already visualize on what I have measured. There's no need to export and carry an extra Proliner, an extra computer or a laptop to visualize, go back and all these things. No, I see on the spot what I have already measured. And this is the very beginning of my drawing. Now I'm gonna measure the bolt itself, so I can have more information and see where, because I will need this line later on for the editing part in order to make sure that this is where the material is going to be touching, or this is where the material is going to be not anymore the canvas, but the transparent part for the windows or something like this might be starting there. So I can visualize here, I can see what I have measured already there. Can move it and rotate it in space in 3D and see how it looks like. And this is all I need from that at that point. While the next step is to create your design, to template your design. You start by envisioning your canvas. You have already done a quick sketch. Then you can go more into details. You can decide where to put the windows, where to put the zippers, when to put all the small things. You can determine where you want to have your lines, and you can visualize them by using the blue tape. Especially in the beginning, is going to be very handy. The more confident you go in 3D CAD, the more you can even skip that part. You can determine which parts are going to overlap, and of course mark the edges, mark the fasteners, mark the starts for your measurements. And for the points that are not easy to reach with the normal pen, the IPT is where it can come very handy. IPT stands for inverted pen technology, so I can measure all the points that I cannot reach with the normal pen. So let's go and see how this can be done. This is my sketch. This is what I want to achieve at the end of the day. This part, I don't need it anymore. So this is where I can visualize and I can determine where I want this line, which is going to be, for example, the end of the windows, and I can mark it there so I can see it in reality, and then I can transfer this information also to my drawing and eventually to my to the CAD part. This is for the backside, the side panel, the backside of the side panel. And that actually looks good. Of course, we do the same at the other side. Here's where the windows will go. So this is what we need, and this is for the side panel of the back side of the back panel. Mark it, get the extra blue tape. This for the back side, and of course this for the other side of the my cover. Marking the points can also come very handy because you know exactly where you want your meeting points of the lines to be. That is there in the back side where you actually have 3 different lines meeting there. Change layer so I can separate them even more easy in the CAD part. The hook pen comes very handy for such measurements. Measure the one side, going to measure the same structure for the side panel on the other side. Slowly it has started getting closer and closer to the final shape. This is how it looks like now. So I've got like most of the basic information that I need. By using the layers, I can visualize immediately what has been measured now, and I can separate them even easier. And now I don't need the lines. I can actually disassemble the tensor set, as I do not need anymore my frame to be there. This is where I want to reach the points on the external part, on the outside of the boat, and this is where the IPT comes very handy. The IPT goes from 200 milli up to 800 milli, so whatever the case, I can reach the points. Comes with 3 different tips: the sharp one, the one that looks like a ball, and this one that looks like there is a curve inside. So where I already have a point, I can just go, and it gives me extra stability when I'm getting the points. By measuring multiple points, the Proliner gets enough data to do the calculations on which is exactly the point that I'm really measuring. You see this movement like a cross gets enough points for the Proliner to do the math needed. I get all the points that I need, starting from one side, going to the other side of the boat, because these are going to be very useful for the buttons or whatever else I want to have there. The same thing, of course, goes for the top side, front side of the boat, of the structure there, and you can see already here the points that are measured with the IPT with the green color, different layers, as it will be handy in the editing part afterwards. And here with the blue tape actually helps me even more to visualize where I want to have the end of my panel and how it will follow on that side up to the front side of my structure. It will go from the deck level going up. Again, the IPT will help me to reach all the points without even need to reposition the Proliner and use the leap function. Of course, if needed, I can also use that part, but in that case the IPT is way handier. So this line actually will help me to see where's the deck level and how far I can go on that part. Here's the end of the here's going to be the end of my side panel, and I create slowly this curve there. More and more points with the IPT. The same here on the top of the boat, and of course the same is going to be on the other side. And I have got actually almost all the points that I want. I can see the back of the boat, I can see the decking level, I can see the points that are going to be useful to mark the buttons. I can see where I want to have the end of my panel, and these are all the information that I actually need. So from my sketch to the Proliner 3D measurement, and I can, as we discussed before, I can see it already on the Proliner. I'm measuring in the middle of nowhere, in a marina where it's in the middle of nowhere, and I can just use my smartphone, send the files from the Proliner to my smartphone, and while I'm still on the boat, I can send the files for process back to the office, and I can just go to the next boat and keep measuring. So once I'm back in the office, there is a process that has to be followed in order to go from the 3D Proliner measurement to the 2D to do the 2D production ready files. We start by aligning the measurement, then intersect and connect the lines, lofting and generate actually the 3D surfaces. From 3D surfaces, I also want to project the markers and all the lines that I got onto these surfaces. And then from 3D, I unroll everything. I go to 2D, where I will need the silhouette. I don't need the surfaces anymore. I need just the external contours. Once I have done there, I can also do the tension that we'll see a trick on how you can have everything super tight and you don't have extra material. You can add the reinforcements, you can add the zippers and the windows as the customer asked or as you want them to be. You can also have the seams and the markers so that they will help you to create and the files that are ready to give to the for the production. So how can this be done? I'm still on the boat. I have sent the files back to the office, or I can just open my laptop there and start working. Step number 1, to align the measurement. This is where the 3 points that we got in the beginning can come very handy, as when I have this, I can use them to align the whole measurement. Here is that line, and I bring it on an horizontal plane, so like I have the different perspectives. Here I'm using the top view, as it will be even easier for me when needed to use the different perspectives. Step number 2, to intersect and connect the lines, because now we have actually measure the lines in 3D. They are in space, so they are not connected. It's not like the simple 2D drawings, but you can extend the lines, and then you can see where exactly they meet with each other, as this is going to be a very important process on when I want to create my actual surfaces. So here I extend the lines where I want them to go all around my drawing, and then I use the command which is called closest point, and shows where is the closest point between the lines that we have there. You can see at the top there is the Rhino Prodim toolbar, which actually comes also as part of the package. You see there are the 15-20 commands that you're going to be using on a daily basis. We only use, actually, those commands are enough to create and finalize your drawing. There is no need to go around and look where are them. We already have them ready for you. Connecting everything so that we have the correct lines on where they want to be. repositioning in order to make sure that they are everything on the spot. Here is also where the 3 points meet. The same on the other side, connecting all the points there. Rotating, of course, my drawing is very important and very useful because it will make everything so much easier to see it from the correct perspective. Again, the closest point command comes very handy, as I can move the line exactly where is the point where they would be meeting with the minimum deviation. And the same will happen here for the point, for the side panel. This is where they will meet. Also on the other side panel has to be done the same. Again, using the targets, using the different layers can come very handy as what you want to see and what you want to activate. And this is the part where we're gonna create our surfaces. Loft is the command that is used here. This without simplifying, and this with rebuilding, and you can play with the control points that you want to measure, depending also on the size of the panel. You can choose what is the correct number of control points. So for example, here 20 control points are is a good number, so that you can take everything into consideration. This is an even simpler one. Splitting and the lines and joining where you want. Here we can play around again with the control points, 4, 5, 6, 7, depending again on the surface that we want to make. Again here, and it already started getting the shape that we want. So I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do same process for all the panels. This is the final result in terms of surfaces. And now is where we want to use the lines that we got for the windows or for the markers. These are still 3D lines, but I want to project, to pull these lines to my surfaces, because this is going to be used afterwards in the rolling part. They have to be first pulled on the surfaces and then use them to unroll. So not the lines and the points that I used to have as my could be the fixtures or 10x or whatever could be the case. Again, pulling everything to the surfaces, doing the same here, and then pull it to the surface. The same goes for the back side, because this is where it's gonna show where I have the material and where I'm gonna have a transparent part for window or whatever I want to have there, a door or whatever could be the case. Selecting the surface and move them out of the lines. Again, using different layers, of course, is very handy. So now getting apart the structure that we have created, because this is going to be easier to visualize everything. And this is where also the gumball, to have activated the gumball, comes pretty handy in terms of moving everything or rotating everything into space. Yeah, like now. And I have got the 3 parts that I want, all the parts that I want actually apart. So unrolling, selecting the surface, select also the extra points and lines that I want to be in the unroll part, and I see here that everything from 3D got into the 2D panel. The same for all the panels is the same process. Select the panel, select the points. By using the labels, it helps me to identify which line has to match with what. So the 0, 1 to 3 numbers should be all matching the one with the other. Here again, unrolling this surface, selecting the points. Sometimes my drawing might be mirrored, so I can use the mirror function that's already in the toolbar to mirror it and put it back in the position that I want. Once I have done all the unrolling parts, I can just go and get the silhouette. So I create the surfaces, I select the surfaces, and I get the external contours with the silhouette of those surfaces, which from that point and further, I don't need them anymore, so I can just delete them. And I see that I have the 2D panel and the lines that I have, including all the markers and all the lines that I have for the windows or everything. Here's where you can make the correct tension, so you're sure that you don't have any additional material and everything looks fine, by doing an offset of a few milli, depending also on the length of the line. The 2 ends remain the same, while the center will be from the line that has been offsetted in the middle. So I create a line that has curve actually, with leaving the 2 edges the same, while having the middle going a bit further inside, doing the same on the other side. So when I join those panels in the production, they will be as I want them, and they will also be the material that has to be without any excessive material, any additional that I shouldn't have there, and it will make my work look nice and sharp without having excessive material that's not needed there. Next step is about the reinforcement. Some places you have, in some panels, you have to have some extra material that you can use there. Of course, as we discussed earlier, using the different layers can come very, very handy. So I get the external contour of those panels, and I will, by having those, you can then create the extra reinforcement that you want there. But just by using the offset command, you can create the pieces that you really need to have. It's the same process for all the panels all around, of course. Here going inside. In some parts that I go now here and I can create and connect the lines because I only want a small part there. So just by using the fillet command with 0 angle is the super easy to do it, because now we're not anymore in the 3D editing. The 2D is even easier. Connecting the lines all around. And that small panel as well, and the back side, of course. Deleting what is not needed anymore. Connecting the small corners there. Next step, the zippers and the windows, the line that we got by measuring the blue tape, and this was transferred throughout the process till that step, because this is where we want to create the extra zippers or like the openings for the windows. Here we have marked already in advance where we want them to be, and by doing a couple of lines and offset, at some point we might have also to mirror in order to have the correct direction of the panel. And this is also here for the back side. This is the one that the top, where the top panel meets the back side of the panel. This is where we mirror in order to get the correct direction that we need. Adding the extra offset that we need for this part. Doing the same here. This is the one that will go most probably underneath. And here is where we actually join back the two side panels in one, because this is going to be helpful when we want to create the windows, as we had envisioned them already in the very beginning when we created the sketch, the design that we want to have. We have the lines of the tubes, so we can offset these lines both sides in order to create either both sides or the one side. Here is like just the bottom side, here's the top side, here's the one in the center of this frame, and the same here for the back window. And slowly it has started getting the shape that we really want. Now it's just to connect everything with, and by using the radius that you want or the customer wants to have. Connecting the lines, deleting what is and splitting what is not needed, and connecting everything there. And that's my first window, second one, and the one side panel is already done. I'm about now to finish second one at the other side of the boat. And now it's the back panel. We did the offset, and now just connect the points to connect the lines that we want. This is the part where we can have the seams and the markers, so that we know that when we are in the production phase, that how we can match those panels so that we do not have them, we do not sew them where they shouldn't be, but sew them like where they have to be. And we do that by making a small offset, and then once we do the small offset that is required there, we're gonna create a small line, which actually is the one that we're gonna multiply along the curve, and will indicate where are the points that we want to use as seams, and where are the points that we want to those to match, all of the panels to match. So for example, the front side of the top panel will meet with the back side of the front panel. So like, and so on, all the pieces will meet with each other. You can define how many points, how many segments you want to divide your lines. So this one actually meets with this. This one will be meeting with the bottom one. This panel here meets with the top one, the back side of the top one. This side is going to be meeting with this side there. That side meets with the side panel of the top panel. The small ones in the back. And actually, I have done everything. My files are ready for production. Didn't take us hours after hours after hours, and I passed from the envision to the measuring part, and now to the visualizing in 3D how it looks like, and I can give the panels to the Prodim plotter, or to any other plotter, and start marking them, or even start cutting them, while the person who measured could be still on boat, or measuring the next boat that was there. So that was about it. That is the whole process of digital templating and patterning a full boat enclosure from A to Z. You saw all the parts, all the steps, fix the frame, measure the frame and the parts, and then create the design, and eventually get from 3D to 2D by using the Proliner Canvas Package. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, and feel free to contact us, and stay tuned, because there are going to be more videos that are going to be very, very helpful for you. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you. Bye.